Welcome, everyone, to Saltwater Stories. Today, we're setting off on another incredible exploration back to the vibrant, bustling world of the coral reef.
Always a fascinating place to return to.
It really is. We've talked about these underwater cities before, amazing places teeming with life, all built on the incredible work of those, well, unbelievably busy, tiny ocean plants that form their very foundation.
The corals themselves building these incredible structures.
Exactly. But have you ever stopped to consider this? What if a creature, a seemingly ordinary part of this amazing underwater world, could, under certain circumstances, transform into an overwhelming force?
Something that shifts the balance.
Yeah, a force capable of dramatically reshaping everything in its path. It's a puzzle, really, that has challenged scientists and reef protectors for generations.
A long-standing mystery in many ways.
Today's story is about a creature with a truly distinctive and, well, spiky personality, one that can fundamentally change the very architecture of our coral cities.
I think I know where you're heading.
Get ready to discover the Crown-of-Thorns Starfish.
A creature with quite the reputation.
It certainly does. Let's begin our journey by looking closely at this creature. For the longest time, I think, when people mentioned the Crown-of-Thorns Starfish, they pictured, well, just one thing, right? A single species known everywhere for causing trouble.
That was definitely the picture, yes. Sort of this notorious, widespread coral destroyer, Acanthoster plancy. That was the name everyone used.
But here's where it gets really interesting, the truly eye-opening part. Modern science, especially with things like molecular genetics, has shown us something else entirely, hasn't it?
It really has.
Yeah.
It's prompted what you might call a paradigm shift in how we understand them. Thanks to looking at their genetics, basically, decoding their unique biological blueprint, we now know that what we thought was just Acanthoster plancy is actually, well, a complex.
A complex meaning more than one.
Exactly. At least 4 distinct species, maybe more down the line. Think of it like a big family, maybe, where all the cousins look really similar, but they live in different neighborhoods, different parts of the world's oceans, and genetically, they are distinct. They might share that family look, but they have their own unique traits.
Like finding out there isn't just one type of robin, but several regional types that look almost the same?
That's a great analogy, yeah. So we now recognize these 4 main players, each in its own oceanic home. There's Acanthoster plancy itself, the original name bearer, mostly in the northern Indian Ocean.
Okay.
This one's often really striking, a vibrant purple-blue, sometimes people call it electric blue, and it often has these bright red tips on its spines.
Wow, quite vivid.
It is. Then, if you go south into the southern Indian Ocean, you find Acanthoster mauritiensis. Its colors are often a bit lighter, maybe more blues, or even sort of westy reddish browns.
So different looks, different places.
Definitely. Then you have the one that's probably been studied the most, largely because of the big outbreaks on the Great Barrier Reef.
Ah, the Pacific one.
That's right, Acanthoster solaris, usually found in the Pacific Ocean. Its colors are often more muted, maybe gray-green to reddish-gray, and this one can have a lot of arms, sometimes up to 23.
23. That's amazing.
It's quite something. And finally, living only in the Red Sea, there's Acanthoster benzie. It's a bit unique again, typically has fewer arms, maybe up to 14. And there's some early research suggesting its venom might be slightly less potent than its Pacific cousins.
Okay, so 4 distinct species, not just one. Why is this such a big deal? Does it change how we deal with them?
Oh, absolutely. It fundamentally changes everything. It's like realizing that different types of apples, even if they look similar, need different growing conditions, have different pests, different tastes.
Right, you wouldn't treat a Fuji apple tree exactly the same as a Granny Smith.
Precisely. So the research done on one species, like Acanthoster solaris in the Pacific, might not be directly applicable to Acanthoster benzie in the Red Sea. Their biology, their behavior, what triggers their population booms, even how they respond to control methods, it could all be different.
So it means we need tailored solutions for each region.
Exactly. We're dealing with regional challenges needing regional understanding and management. It makes reef conservation much more complex, but also potentially more effective if we get it right.
That makes sense.
And just as a side note, there's actually a 5th species in the same family, Acanthoster brevis spinus. But this one's quite different.
How so?
Well, it doesn't eat coral at all. It lives in deeper water, on soft, sandy, or muddy bottoms, not on the reef itself. It just highlights the diversity even within this one group of starfish.
Fascinating. So, okay, this isn't just a simple starfish. It's a whole group with different identities. What makes them such unique creatures on the reef itself. Let's talk about their features.
Right. Their anatomy is really quite remarkable, perfectly adapted for what they do. First off, their size. They're large starfish, typically disc-shaped, usually around 25 to 35 centimeters across, about the size of a dinner plate.
That's pretty big for a starfish.
It is, but some can get much, much larger. Individuals up to 80 centimeters in diameter have been recorded. That's like finding something the size of a small car tire crawling over the coral.
Incredible. And those arms you mentioned, not just 5.
No, definitely not always 5. The Pacific one, Solaris, can have up to 23, remember? And these arms are incredibly flexible. They can bend and twist almost like a heggy, spiky blanket conforming to the shape beneath it.
So they can wrap right around coral branches.
Exactly. It allows them to get maximum contact with the coral surface when they're feeding. Very effective.
And the most obvious feature, the spines. They look intimidating.
They certainly are. That's where the Crown-of-Thorns name comes from. Their entire upper surface is densely covered in these long, sharp, venomous spines. They can be 4 or 5 centimeters long.
Ouch. So definitely a good defense.
A very formidable defense, yes.
Yeah.
Imagine stepping on one. It wouldn't just be sharp. It would be painful for quite a while because of the venom.
Right. And how do they move around on the bumpy coral?
Underneath, they have hundreds, maybe even thousands of tube feet. These act like little suction cups. They give them incredible grip, allowing them to cling tightly even to vertical or overhanging surfaces and move with surprising agility across the reef.
Wow. And their colors. You mentioned the blue ones and gray ones.
Yeah, the coloration is highly variable. Reddish gray, brown, purple, that stunning electric blue. It seemed to be influenced by their diet and their specific genetics, and often the very tips of those sharp spines have contrasting colors, like red or yellow.
Warning colors like, don't touch.
Exactly. A clear signal to potential predators that messing with them is a bad idea.
Okay, so that's the outside. What about how they actually, function? Especially how they eat coral.
Ah, yes, the feeding mechanism. This is key to understanding their impact. They have what's called an aversible stomach. That means they can actually push their stomach out of their body.
They push their stomach out.
Yes, right out through their mouth. They climb onto a coral colony, grip on with their tube feet, and then they extrude their stomach, spreading it like a thin, slimy film over the coral surface.
That is bizarre.
It really is unique. The stomach lining then secretes powerful digestive enzymes directly onto the coral polyps, the living tissue. These enzymes liquefy the coral tissue outside the starfish's body.
So they digest it externally.
Precisely. It's like they turn the coral into a nutrient soup right there on the reef, and then they just absorb that liquefied food directly through the stomach wall.
Like an external smoothie maker, leaving behind just the skeleton.
Exactly. You see these stark white patches on the coral where they've fed, just the bare calcium carbonate skeleton left behind. It's a very distinctive sign.
Amazing. Do they have other senses? Can they see where they're going?
Surprisingly, yes. For a starfish, their vision is quite advanced. At the tip of each arm, they have a small compound eye, kind of like an insect's eye, with maybe up to 250 tiny lenses.
On every arm. So a 23-armed starfish has 23 eyes.
Potentially, yes. And these eyes can form actual images, though they're probably quite low resolution. But experiments show this vision is really important for them finding their way to coral reefs.
How so?
Well, if you blind a crown-of-thorns starfish, it just tends to wander aimlessly and gets lost. So they use vision to navigate towards the large structure of a reef. Interestingly, though, their vision is incredibly slow.
Slow vision. What does that mean?
It means they perceive motion very, very slowly. Their flicker fusion frequency, which is how fast things need to blink before they see it as continuous light, is one of onychists, making them a meal. More recent studies using cutting-edge techniques like environmental DNA, which can detect tiny bits of DNA shed by organisms in water samples, have even revealed that many more fish species, including commercially important emperors and coral trout, consume these starfish than we previously thought. This growing body of evidence strongly supports the idea that a general decline in fish populations due to extensive fishing pressure might be a major contributing factor.
So it's not simply a matter of too much food for the babies versus not enough predators for the adults. It sounds like it could be both, creating a kind of perfect storm for these outbreaks.
Precisely. The answer is almost certainly both, and their interaction creates an even more potent trigger for outbreaks. These factors aren't isolated, they often amplify each other. For instance, if there are fewer predators, more adult starfish might survive to reach a critical population density. If that larger population then encounters a huge plankton bloom fueled by runoff, it creates the ideal conditions for a massive larval recruitment event, triggering an even larger and more destructive outbreak. The starfish are biologically designed with incredible reproductive capacity and larval flexibility to seize these windows of opportunity. Whether those opportunities are created by bottom-up factors like increased nutrients or top-down factors like reduced predation, it's a dynamic and dangerous feedback loop for the reefs.
That's a deeply intricate web of interactions. It sounds like an enormous, complex challenge. But despite all these factors, scientists and communities aren't standing by idly. People are actively trying to manage these outbreaks and protect these vital reef systems.
You are absolutely correct. Humans have been attempting to control these outbreaks for over half a century, and our methods have evolved significantly. Early control efforts were often inefficient, and sometimes, surprisingly, even made the problem worse. In the past, people would physically collect the starfish, or more commonly, tried chopping them into pieces with knives or machetes, leaving the fragments on the reef. The fascinating but unfortunate lesson here was that chopping them up actually made the problem worse due to their incredible regeneration ability. Any fragment that retained a piece of the central body disc could regrow into a complete new starfish, inadvertently increasing the population instead of reducing it. It was a classic case of unintended consequences.
Right, I remember hearing about that. So you literally couldn't just cut them up.
Exactly, it was completely counterproductive. Early chemical injections, using things like copper sulfate, were also tried. While they did kill the starfish, there were big concerns about the environmental side effects, harming other reef life.
Yeah, you don't want the cure to be worse than the disease.
Precisely. So we had to find better, more targeted methods. And that's where modern management comes in. The current standard involves trained divers using a special device, kind of like a pole spear, to deliver a single lethal injection.
An injection, what do they inject them with? Something toxic?
Well, yes, toxic to the starfish, but remarkably safe for the reef. The main approved substances are actually bile salts derived from ox bile or even common household vinegar.
Vinegar, seriously.
Yeah.
Like the stuff you put on chips.
Exactly that. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But a single shot of bile salts or vinegar causes osmotic shock and breaks down the starfish's tissues internally, killing it effectively, but it dilutes very quickly in the seawater and has minimal impact on surrounding corals or other organisms.
That's ingenious. Using something so common.
It really was a breakthrough, refined around 2014. It made the culling process much more efficient and ecologically sound. Now, they don't try to eliminate every single starfish from a huge area that's practically impossible.
Right, the reefs are just too vast.
Exactly. So the approach is strategic. They prioritize certain reefs, maybe ones really important for tourism, or ones known to be good sources of coral larvae for reseeding other areas. Divers then focus their efforts there, culling starfish until their numbers drop below the outbreak threshold, giving the coral a chance to recover.
And does it work? Are these programs making a difference?
Yes, the evidence is very positive. A major study published in 2024 looked at a decade of these control efforts on the Great Barrier Reef. It showed that in the areas with sustained, targeted control, starfish numbers were about 6 times lower compared to reefs where outbreaks were left unchecked.
6 times lower.
Yeah.
It's significant.
It is. And even more importantly, coral cover in those managed areas increased by up to 44% compared to the unmanaged ones. It clearly shows that active intervention can make a real, measurable difference in helping reefs withstand these outbreaks.
That's fantastic news.
Okay.
And I suppose protecting the coral also protects the businesses and communities that depend on the reef.
Absolutely. That's a crucial link. Healthy coral reefs support billions of dollars globally through tourism, fishing, and coastal protection. Tens of thousands of jobs depend directly on reef health. So managing Crown-of-Thorns outbreaks isn't just about saving marine life, it's about safeguarding economies and human livelihoods too. The cost of these programs is an investment that pays back many times over by maintaining those vital ecosystem services.
It really underscores how connected human well-being is to the health of these underwater ecosystems. So, looking ahead, what does the future hold? How is science evolving to tackle this, especially with challenges like climate change?
Well, the science is definitely not standing still. There are some really exciting innovations happening in surveillance and detection, trying to spot outbreaks even earlier. One of the most promising is the use of environmental DNA, or eDNA.
eDNA, you mentioned that briefly with predators. How does it work for detecting the starfish themselves?
It's the same principle. As the starfish move around, feed, reproduce, they shed tiny traces of their DNA into the water skin cells, mucus, waste products, even gametes. Scientists can collect a water sample, filter it, and then use genetic techniques to detect the specific DNA signature of the crown-of-thorns starfish.
So you can tell they're there even if you can't see them.
Exactly. And this is huge because it means we can potentially detect the presence of microscopic larvae drifting in the water, or find those small cryptic juveniles hiding deep in the reef framework long before they grow large enough to cause visible damage or be easily spotted by divers.
Wow, like an early warning system.
Precisely. It offers the potential to catch outbreaks in their very initial stages, allowing for much more proactive and potentially less costly management interventions. It's a real game changer for monitoring.
That sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah.
Any other new tech?
Yes. Another area is AI-assisted imaging. Think of systems like Reef Scan. You have high-resolution cameras towed behind a boat, constantly taking pictures or video of the seafloor.
Okay.
Then, artificial intelligence algorithms are trained to analyze these images in real time. The AI can automatically identify and count crown-of-thorns starfish and even assess the percentage of live coral cover much faster and over much larger areas than human divers ever could.
So the AI does the spotting.
Essentially, yes.
Right.
It can flag areas with high starfish densities very quickly, allowing control teams to be directed straight to the hotspots where they're needed most. It massively improves the efficiency of survey efforts.
Incredible. But these tools help manage outbreaks.
Mhm.
What about the underlying issue? How does climate change complicate things? You mentioned it acts as a threat multiplier.
It really does, and in several ways. Take ocean warming. We know that warmer water, up to a certain point, speeds up the development of the starfish larvae.
Right, you mentioned their optimal temperature range.
Exactly. So if the larvae develop faster, they spend less time drifting in the plankton where they're vulnerable to being eaten or swept away. A shorter larval duration generally means higher survival rates. So warmer oceans could potentially lead to more frequent or more intense outbreaks. The pattern of outbreaks, often starting in the warmer northern parts of the Great Barrier Reef, seems to support this idea.
So warming might actually favor the starfish.
It appears that way, yes, within their tolerance limits. Then there's ocean acidification, the change in ocean chemistry as it absorbs CO2. The effects here are a bit more complex and less clear-cut. Some lab studies show it might negatively affect fertilization or early development.
Okay.
But other studies suggest the starfish might have some capacity to adapt. It's an area where more research is definitely needed to understand the full picture. But perhaps the biggest concern is the combined impact, the double whammy effect. Imagine a reef gets hit by a mass coral bleaching event due to marine heat waves, which severely weakens or kills much of the coral.
Yeah, a huge stress already.
Exactly. Then, before the reef has a chance to recover, a crown-of-thorns outbreak sweeps through. The starfish can then easily finish off the remaining stressed or recovering corals. This combination can be absolutely devastating and can push a reef towards collapse much faster than either threat alone.
It prevents recovery.
It makes recovery incredibly difficult, yes. And there's another worrying aspect. After a bleaching event, some corals survive better than others. These might be more heat-tolerant individuals or species. They are crucial for the reef's future adaptation to warming.
The potential genetic lifeline.
Precisely. But if the starfish then come along and preferentially eat these surviving, potentially more resilient corals, they could actually be hindering the reef's ability to adapt to climate change in the long run. They might be removing the very corals we need most.
Wow, that's a really sobering thought. It highlights how complex these interactions are and how they span across time, too. Which brings us to the human story, the history. This isn't just a modern problem, is it? People have known about these starfish for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. This is not just a story of modern science. It's deeply interwoven with human history and traditional knowledge. Western science first formally described the starfish way back in 1705, and it got its scientific name, Acanthoster plancey, from Linnaeus himself in 1758.
So documented for over 300 years.
Yes. And the fossil record, looking at starfish, remains preserved in reef sediments, tells us they've been a natural part of these Indo-Pacific reef ecosystems for at least 8,000 years, maybe much longer. So outbreaks themselves are likely a natural phenomenon that has occurred periodically over millennia.
Long before modern pressures like runoff or overfishing.
Correct. Though the frequency and intensity might be changing now. But what's truly fascinating is the knowledge held by indigenous communities across this vast region. They have lived with these reefs for generations, for thousands of years, and they have their own names and deep understanding of the starfish.
Like Taramia in the Cook Islands you mentioned.
Exactly, or Rusish in Palau, and many other local names. This isn't just naming. It often comes with detailed traditional ecological knowledge about the starfish's behavior, its cycles, and its connection to other parts of the environment.
You gave that amazing example of the Maori knowledge linking the starfish hiding behavior to approaching storms.
Yes. That kind of observation shows a really sophisticated, nuanced understanding of the ecosystem built up over countless generations of close observation. It's a natural forecast embedded in their knowledge system. They see the connections we might miss with purely scientific instruments.
That's incredible. Is this traditional knowledge being incorporated into how we manage reefs today? Are communities involved?
Increasingly, yes, and it's proving incredibly valuable. It's a move towards more collaborative and holistic management. In the Cook Islands, for instance, there's a fantastic local environmental group, Carrero Oteo. They've been training young Maori locals in diving specifically to conduct manual removals of the Taramia.
So empowering the community to protect their own reefs.
Exactly. It builds local skills, strengthens connections to their marine heritage, and provides direct conservation action. And interestingly, they often follow traditional practices, like burying the removed starfish inland to use as fertilizer. It closes the loop, connecting sea and land in a sustainable way.
That's a wonderful example. What about places like the Great Barrier Reef?
Similar efforts are underway there, too. Traditional owner groups are becoming much more involved in the Crown-of-Thorns control program and broader sea country management. Programs are co-designed with traditional owners, integrating their ancestral knowledge alongside modern science.
Combining the best of both worlds.
That's the goal. It includes training and employing young indigenous rangers in marine operations, diving and monitoring on their traditional sea country. It acknowledges their deep connection, rights, and responsibilities, and recognizes that their long-term perspective is invaluable for sustainable management. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much more effective could our conservation efforts be if we truly embraced and integrated this deep generational wisdom?
It certainly poses a powerful question about partnership and respect for different ways of knowing. Well, that was truly an incredible journey into the world of the Crown-of-Thorns starfish, a creature far more complex and, frankly, fascinating than its spiky appearance initially suggests.
It really is a creature of contradictions, isn't it?
Absolutely. Let's quickly recap. We learned it's not just one single species causing havoc, but actually a complex of at least 4 distinct species, each living in its own part of the Indo-Pacific.
Requiring different approaches, yeah.
Then we uncovered its amazing superpowers, that incredible external digestion, pushing its stomach out.
The smoothie maker.
Right. And its ability to regenerate, where chopping it up just makes more.
A tough lesson learned there.
We explored its dual role. Sometimes a helpful grazer, keeping fast corals in check, but during outbreaks, a devastating force.
A natural component that can become overwhelming.
And we looked at why those outbreaks might happen, maybe too much food for the larva due to nutrient runoff.
The larval starvation hypothesis.
Or perhaps not enough predators due to overfishing.
The predator removal hypothesis.
Or most likely, a dangerous combination of both, creating that perfect storm.
Yeah, a complex mix of factors.
And finally, we saw how people are fighting back with targeted injections, even using vinegar and innovative tech like eDNA and AI, but also how climate change adds another serious layer of threat, the double whammy.
The huge challenge, but with real progress being made in management.
Thank you so much for joining us on Saltwater Stories. We really hope you enjoyed this incredible story about these, well, not the tiny ocean plants themselves today, but a creature intricately linked to the fate of the reefs those plants build.
My pleasure. It's a vital story to tell.
As we think about the Crown-of-Thorns starfish, it really serves as a powerful reminder, doesn't it, that even a single creature, when its natural balance within an ecosystem is disrupted, whether by natural cycles or human impacts, can have these enormous ripple effects across an entire world.
The interconnectedness is just profound.
It truly is. It just highlights how crucial it is to understand, respect, and protect every single part of our amazing oceans.
Well said.
Until next time on Saltwater Stories.